Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. Welcome to USAWatchdog.com. With us, a guy that watches the trends of everything. I call him the top trends forecaster in the world. I don't know of anybody else that really does this, at least at the level he does it. He was putting out a quarterly report, and now it's gone monthly. So you're really getting your money's worth when you buy the Trends Journal, and the publisher of the Trends Journal is Gerald Celente. Listen, folks got their money's worth before, but now it's like, money's worth on steroids. It's every month. It's unbelievable. And I guess you're having no problem filling the pages with the pace of the news. Let's open up with this China possible trade war with the U.S. and China, and let's throw Mexico in there all the way. But let's start with the China trade war in the markets. Markets have been gyrating. I mean, we've had 1,000-point swings, 800-point swings. It's just in the last week. Tell me what you think's going on.
Well, Friday afternoon, the markets were down, 3%. And everybody's tying it to a headline news of China and the trade wars. When did this start to go down, Greg? How about the first week of February?
Yeah.
And what was bringing it down? The fear of higher interest rates. The markets are vastly overvalued and overleveraged. So let's go back. Now, I've been on your show for years, and we were among the first in print that forecast a Trump rally a week after he got elected, which was contrary to everything that Wall Street was saying prior to the election.
Yeah, you also were on May of 16, saying he's probably going to win.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you were picking him to be the winner. Yeah, your forecast. But anyway, go ahead.
And it's not, what I like, or, he's not my guy in a lot of ways, We just call the trends. We're not attached to this. And so going back, in the fall of this year, we said the market would have a 10% correction in 2018. Now it's done that. It's in correction territory. Why, again? It's not the tariffs. It's not him firing Gary Cohen. Gary who? Gary what? Oh, who cared? The markets are overvalued, overleveraged, and again, current events form future trends. So as the markets are going down Friday, here's when they took a real big hit, but you won't see this in the news. They're going to keep it in one sentence. Tariffs, trade wars, bring down market. Fed Chair Powell says growth has picked up enough to justify rate hikes. In his first speech on the economy since taking over the Federal Reserve, Chairman Jerome Powell said Friday that growth is running at a solid pace and continued rises in rates will be necessary. That's what the markets are freaking out about, more than a trade war. Because we don't believe there's going to be a trade war. There's going to be a trade readjustment. And that the media is so anti-Trump on this, and the Democrats, of all people, to be attacking him on this, is the height of hypocrisy and propaganda. And I'll explain to you why. Take a look at the numbers that came from the Economic Policy Institute. Anybody listening, Google that name up, and they'll say a left-wing organization. Well, according to that left-wing organization, when China entered the World Trade Organization in 2001, 2 weeks after 9/11, when no one was watching, since that time, America has lost, according to the Institute, they've lost 3.5 million jobs. Some 70,000 manufacturing plants closed. Why would anybody be fighting Trump to do a reversal of us being in a merchandise trade deficit, $365 billion. So tell me any two people that would do business with each other and one side takes a huge loss and keeps taking it. So for the media to come out against this, particularly the business media and the corporate media, attacking him continually on this, and again, I don't agree with Trump on a lot of things, but I'm an American, and I'm an America First person. So, being old enough to remember when people had jobs that paid a living wage, it was because of our manufacturing base. And then you had Slick Willie Clinton, a lowlife of a human being as they make them, and Al Gore, born on third base and thought he hit a home run with nowhere if his old man wasn't senator before him. An arrogant boy, as one of my friends, John J. Hooker from Tennessee, used to say, may he rest in peace, that gave us NAFTA, whereby we have lost, again, according to the Economic Policy Institute, over 800,000 jobs because of NAFTA. We went from a positive trade balance before Slick Willie and Al Gore sold us out to now we're $71 billion in the red with Mexico. Oh, and by the way, the trade numbers just came out earlier this week. Our trade deficit now climbed to the worst level it's been going back to 9.5 years ago. It hit a high. And our trade deficit with Mexico increased 47%. So why would people argue and fight and bring down the markets because Trump wants to bring back jobs and readjust a trade deficit that, by any standard, is destroying the nation?
I kind of simplify it by saying it's 1.4 billion people, and they're getting $500 billion a year more than a country of 325 million people. Wow. How can that be? Unless we're being sold out. And one of the people selling us out, this thing, Peter Schweitzer's new book, and you know, I'm not a Democrat or Republican, man. When I see Republicans like Mitch McConnell, in this book, he charges that much of his wealth is tied to China. They're selling us out. And now anybody in the mainstream media, you think they jump all over this because they're lefty Democrats, Marxist, you know, New World Order weasels. You think they jump all over that charge. Not a word. Not a word.
Well, here's the other word that you're not hearing. Why does China have this trade deficit? Let's go back to Clinton again. He's the guy that got us into the World Trade Organization. When you go back again to the time China, I mentioned the numbers of how many jobs we lost, according to the Economic Policy Institute. China had a 5% back in 2000. 5% of those 1.3 billion people were middle class. Today, it's nearly 35%, as America's middle class has shrunk. So you can
that's
see
a great point.
The trade deal stinks.
Yeah.
And going back to who sold us out besides Slick Willie, why do you think, why does anybody with a brain that big think they pay Clinton's $500,000, $300,000 an hour to shoot their fat mouths off? You can hear them BS for free all day long. It's called payback. Look at the Clinton Foundation, the money they've got for selling this country out. And who else sold us out? Every manufacturer here that shipped their stuff over there to get made and sold out all our research and development. Here's the deal. When you want to go build cars in China, because if you import them, we're going to charge you a 23%, 25% tariff. But I'll tell you what, Greg, if you get them made over in China, here's the deal. You could go in partnerships with one of our state corporations that we'll call a private company, but only a moron would believe that. But you can't own more than 49% of that company. So you, Greg, for bringing all your manufacturing skills here, as we are going back again to 2000, only 5% of our population is middle class. We got lousy manufacturing. We got lousy production. We need you to come over here, give us all your technology. You will be a minor owner in this. And then guess what? After we got everything that we want from you, we're taking over. And that's exactly what's going on with the auto industry. Geely. Nobody heard of this thing any before. Oh, they bought Volvo, didn't they? Oh, yeah, now they're a major producer. They couldn't produce their own cars before. They sold us out. The European companies and the American companies sold us out. And the people fighting Trump are also the big retailers, because they got their slave labor making their stuff over there. They bring it back here and mark up the price, and they make more money. If they have to pay our people to do that work, they have to pay them a living wage, and they can't make enough profits. That's who's fighting this. And you go back to our top trend for 2017, Silicon Valley, Rust Belt 2.0. We had forecast that now that the United States has sold out, all the corporations have sold us out, and the European corporations, now China was going to be the world leader in artificial intelligence and beyond. And that's exactly what's happened. The murderers and the thieves sold out America.
Do you think that the country is going to be successful? Do you think that Trump is going to be successful? He brought back all this money. He brought back, a lot more jobs than Hillary Clinton would have. Do you think that Trump's going to be successful? Is that your trend?
We don't know. Again, there's a lot of, again, I mentioned the things that are positive. The negatives to us are his tax deal. And again, you look at the Tax Policy Center. This is a nonpartisan group. Between 80 to 83% of the benefits went to the 1%. People are getting, within several years, we will be paying more taxes again, and we didn't get that big of a break. So let's go back to the markets. On Friday, the markets are diving. And we look back, what was going on? I mentioned to you the fear of higher interest rates. What's keeping the markets up, Greg, there were over $4 trillion worth of stock buybacks since the panic of '08, because the Federal Reserve, the banksters, gave these people money for free. In Economics 101, they didn't teach you about zero interest rate policy and quantitative easing. They made this garbage up, going back to the Trump tax cuts, and why we don't see a market crash at this time, absent a wild card, because they're repatriating all that dough from overseas at a very low tax rate, and because of the tax cuts from 35% to 21%, these are the facts. In the first 3 months of this year, there have been more stock buybacks and merger and acquisition activity than ever before in this short period of time, because of all that cheap money going back into the corporations. That's what's keeping the markets up. And before I forget, for all the listeners out there, we don't give financial advice, but I want to tell everyone what our major indicator that we are watching closely that is going to determine where the markets are going. It's the signal. It's a signal that when it flashes, you will know whether to bail out or stay in, and that's gold prices.
Whoa.
So with all of this volatility going on, gold prices have not moved much. They're still stuck in the 1300, 1350 range. Even on Friday, with all the volatility, gold only moved up a couple of bucks. That is the indicator to watch, and here is our forecast. Gold has to break above $1,385 an ounce. It has been unable to get near there. Got to 360s, 365, 1365, excuse me. After it breaks the 1,385 number, the next big number is 1,450, 1450. When it solidifies over that, it will be, we forecast, a jump to the $2,000 range. Gold is the ultimate safe haven asset. It has not been acting like that during this market shift. And when you go back to February, when the markets really had their first hit of volatility, gold prices actually went down with the markets. So that's just, before I forget, I want to put that out there. And again, you know the motto of the Trends Journal, think for yourself. That's the way we see it, and that's what we tell our subscribers.
Mammoth University had a poll out. I was stunned to see this because I used to be in mainstream media. I was at ABC, I was at CNN, I was at 5 TV stations. I mean, that's my whole career, except for USA Watchdog, which I like best. You said that people that should go ahead and get their own internet because that's going to be the big trend. I was working at, I don't know, CNN or ABC, the last days of CNN, in the middle 2000s. And I thought, wow, really? Well, you were right. But what do you think about this Mammoth University poll with 77% of people think that the legacy media, the mainstream media, ABC, NBC, Washington Post, New York Times, CNN, put out fake news? 77%. What does that tell you? What are you seeing in the trends?
It's not only fake news, it's junk news. And that's why people are tuning out. Here, we have to hear about, you mentioned CNN, right? You mentioned how many people are in this country. Say 320 million?
Yep.
Out of those 320 million, what's the prime time viewership of CNN?
I don't know, 7 to 8? 8 to 9?
Google it up. 970,000.
What? How many people? Less than a million, yes. Wow.
Yeah. Nothing.
Considering,
nothing.
Considering how much money they spend for that 900,000 people. They spend a ton of money on talent and equipment, studio time, high rents in New York City and Atlanta. They spend a ton of time on that. A ton of money on that, I should say.
Where'd you get the word talent from? What, little Anderson Cooper? He'd be a nobody if his mother wasn't Gloria Vanderbilt. Little Chris Cuomo? He'd be a nobody if his father wasn't Mario Cuomo, just like his brother, Andrew. Again, guys born on third base and thought they hit a home run. Every time I go on to that CNN to see what's going on, because I look at everybody and I want to see, what's going on out there, from Global Times to Fars News Agency to Bloomberg, CNBC, Euro News. I cover the world. Every time I go on CNN, I'm reading something, boom, a whole full-page picture of Anderson Cooper, a Don Lemon. Boy, the perfect name for that cat flashes up in front of my face. It's not fake news, it's dumbed-down news brought to you by prostitutes who get paid to put out by their corporate johns and their Washington whoremasters. That's why people are tuning out and tuning in to USA Watchdog, the Trends Journal, and other media that's giving the facts and not their beliefs and not what we can't get paid to put out. That's why people are disgusted. And again, you look at the numbers, and then I got to hear at what CNN said. Do you think I care? A big story, what Robert De Niro? What do I care what Robert De Niro, Jimmy Kimmel? How about Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck? Why are you telling me what some stupid clown is talking about? Because that's who they are. They're nothing more than prostitutes. And the news that we're getting, going back to the markets, it's all consolidated. You got 6 companies that control 90% of the media. They fired the journalists. Mergers and acquisitions, whether it's in media or anything else, you know the deal. You fire everybody and make as much money as you can. So what are they doing? In unison, they're repeating a one line as to why the markets are going up and going down. Again, go back to Friday. Look at the job numbers that came out.
Yeah, 1.3 million, 100,000, a little more than 100,000.
And what were they expecting?
150, 160, 70, something like that.
Yeah, I think 190, I think they were looking at. Around there, maybe one of those numbers. And then you look at the revisions. And then you look at, okay, what are most of the jobs now that we created? Part-time jobs. So that's not being reported. That is out of the news. Instead, they're going to say, well, the market's moved. As I said, one reason. Oh, because of tariffs. Oh, no, because they fired Gary Cohen. No, because what's going on in North Korea. No. So they're all only giving one reason. Look what just happened with that Sinclair News thing that just broke.
Yeah, the ultimate in fake news. It's a threat to our democracy was their line.
Right? So everybody, the prostitutes, right? They're not journalists. All their prostitutes repeated the line that their corporate John fed them to put out. That's why people are disgusted, and that's why people aren't getting an accurate read on the markets. It's not I don't believe there's going to be a trade war. It's not going to be in China's interest. It's not going to be in Mexico's interest, and it's not going to be in Canada's interest.
And you think they're just going to have to grin and bear it and give us a better deal?
You got it.
Do you think Donald Trump gets reelected in 2020, or even closer yet? Do you think the Democrats take the House? Because I know you do a lot of political stuff too, geopolitical and market stuff. I know you're good on both. So do you think that the Republicans give up the House? I don't think they'll give up the Senate. You think they'll give up the House in 2018? Do you think Donald Trump will be elected in 2020?
You can't go. 2020 is too far away. Too many things could happen. But we think that the way the trends are going now, yes, the Democrats will win. And by the way, the liberal Democratic
you think they'll win in the White House in 2020? In 18. You think they'll win the House?
Yes.
What are they running on? Higher taxes, flooding the borders with illegals. We hate Trump, and we're going to take away your rights, even though 80% of the people don't want to see the Second Amendment go away.
You see, that's what would be the thought when you think about the Democratic Party. But look how many people they're running that are former CIA agents and military. They're playing the heavy military card. You just saw what happened in Pennsylvania.
You don't think there's some election fraud there, do you?
They're running scores of military and CIA and NSA people. It's a fact. So they're not playing, that line. They're playing the hard line. And again, they're also going to run a lot of women into this as well. So that's why we think they're going to win the House.
In 2018.
In 18.
I've heard that, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard rumors that Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan want to flip the House over. That they'd rather have, just like in Alabama, where it was Roy Moore, they'd rather have a Democrat in that Senate seat than a conservative Republican. I mean, that's what it looks like to me. You hear Mitch McConnell say, we're going to lose in 2018. Why would you say that?
Yeah. Well, he's a jerk. I mean, look at these people. How can anybody call this a representative form of government? Only speaking for myself. There's not one of them out there that represents me at any level.
Do you see a trend for a possible civil war in the country? I mean, we had this Google shooter, another lefty. All the shooters are lefties or or immigrants or illegal immigrants, or they're all from the left. There's not one NRA member, not one MAGA member that shot somebody in a mass killing. It's this crazy time for the Marxist leftists. Do you see a civil war happening at someday in America?
Yeah, well, there's also psychos too. Let's not forget those. They're pulling the trigger too. I don't see it. I see a divide in America, but not a civil war, because there's not courage to fight in this country. Look what's going on around the world. It doesn't make the news at all. They had an election in Italy. Who won? The Five-Star Movement, Cinque Stelle. They're anti-Eurozone, anti-Euro. They want to retain their national identity. The media has ignored that story. Look what's going on in Hungary. Every time that they can, they attack the president of Hungary, because he wants to keep the nationality alive and doesn't want to bring in any more immigrants. However, they keep winning. Look what happened in Germany with the AfD party, Alternative for Deutschland. They call them a right-wing populist party because they don't want to take any more immigrants and refugees. They're winning all over the world, except in the United States, where we have morons telling us that if you don't vote, then you deserve what you get. I don't vote for criminals. I don't vote for murderers. And that's all the Democrats and Republicans give us, as I see it. So the answer to your question is not a revolution, it's an evolution. It's time for a new way. And the way that we are suggesting is the way that happened in Italy. The Five-Star Movement, you know where it was started? On the internet. You know how they vote for their leaders? On the internet. We have blockchain technology now. Poof! Once you make that transaction, it's blocked. So what's one of the poorest places in America, the poorest states? West Virginia. They're using blockchain technology in the midterm elections.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Allowing people to vote. Again, it's not making the news. We got this stupid system over here, going to polls and waiting online, and you got some arrogant jerks over there playing important for one day to make you feel like a moron. I could vote like this online. If I could bank online, certainly I could vote online. And now with blockchain, I could vote. And that's what I'm trying to tell you, Greg. Blockchain democracy. The richest country in the world, Switzerland. Hey, by the way, everybody has guns, and they're not blowing each other's brains out. Hey, and they haven't been in a war since what? About 1850, and war's been all around them. What do? Direct democracy. The people vote. The people vote on the issues. That's what we need to change the direction of this country as I see it. Oh, the people are too stupid. Oh, yeah? Oh, you like Mitch McConnell? Maybe you like Paulie Ryan. Hey, maybe Dianne Not-So-Feinstein's your kind of person. Or little Chucky Schumer. No. Maybe Nancy out-of-her-mind Pelosi is your representative. So to us, we are in a new generation. The world has gone digital. Let us make democracy digital, blockchain democracy.
What about all the driver's license? We're not going to get there, at least at the midterm, except for one state. But what about all the California issuing 1 million driver's license to illegals and signing them up to vote? Chicago issuing ID cards, which also allow them to sign up to vote because they keep saying there's no evidence, but they don't want to give any evidence. The voting commission of Donald Trump was basically stopped and turned over to the Department of Homeland Security. Could the Department of Homeland Security put the kibosh on a bunch of illegals and dead people voting? Could that happen?
Well, yes and no. You know, they don't have the resources nor the equipment to do it. But again, why are they doing it in California and Illinois.
They hang on to power.
Yeah, so because they get those people to vote for them. That's the same reason why the Democrats strike. That was never allowed before. You know, this is your job. You want to be a job as a public servant. These are the terms. Oh, you don't like it, then leave. I'm a taxpayer. If you want to join a union in a private company, fine. But it was the Democrats that began that. Public employees were not allowed to strike before. This is your job. You want to take this job as a public employee? Here are the deals. We're taxpayers paying you. So that's what they're doing. The same reason that's what they've done with giving driver's licenses and illegals in, so they vote for them.
Yes, but can they stop it?
Yeah, yes, of course they can.
Last question: what would it take, in your estimation, for the Democrats to not regain the House? What would the Republicans have to do, in your estimation? Last question.
It all comes to the bottom line. How much money am I making? How good do I feel? Am I making more? How's my life? That's really it. The rest of the issues, they're going to get clouded, but really it becomes the pocketbook issue. And that's going to be another danger, because there is a danger here of a market crash. Not for economic reasons, but a black swan event or a wild card. And things are heating up very intensely in the Middle East. And if something explodes over there, you're looking at oil prices already. We're back near the $70 range, in and out of it. If there's trouble over there and oil prices spike to $100 a barrel, you're going to see a big shift downwards. And by the way, you keep putting all the trends together. Do you know where the auto industry is making all their dough now?
Big cars.
You got it. Big cars burning more fuel. Go back to the last time oil prices went up and the American auto industry was not prepared to sell smaller cars. They went way down. By the way, it was Obama, wasn't it, that bailed out General Motors?
Yep. Gerald Celente, publisher of the Trends Journal, now monthly. It was a great deal before. It's even a better deal now. Trends Journal, trendsresearch.com. Is that the website?
That's it.
You can find it on the Trends Journal. The Trends Journal, you can put that in, or Gerald Celente. I mean, you're uberly easy to find. Gerald Celente, thanks for coming on short notice, might I add. Thanks for coming on USAWatchdog.com. I really appreciate it. The Trends Journal, now monthly. We'll put a link to the website, and you can look at the site. There's some free information on there. You can also sign up. It's packed full of stuff. Done very nice. Gerald Celente, thanks for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com.
Oh, thanks for having me, and thank you for all that you do to keep the people ahead of the news and on top of the trends, Greg.